Hello. I just wanted to revisit these two dresses. You recall previously I was going to alter them for a friend. Now I've got part way through the alterations. In fact, with this dress I've completed them, and I decided to take my own advice to you, which was to just be bold. So rather than sew it up, which I think was what she was expecting to happen, what I've actually done is, if I can show you, separated the seams and just sewn them up against themselves so that they have this little reveal here. And the reason I've done this is because I really like the way this little V here just echoes the shape of the V on the neckline, and also on the back. Now that it doesn't have ruffles, I think this V actually makes the back much more interesting. Anyway, she's coming in later. She doesn't know what I've done. She'll try it on. I won't let her see it until she's actually got it on, and then we'll see what she thinks, and hopefully she'll really like that. So that's that dress. The other dress is this one, and what I'm going to do here, I was going to put a little bit of bling on here. Now, before I was able to sort of do my design, I had to really work out how I was going to transfer the design onto here. If I drew it on a piece of paper and just put it there, it wouldn't give me a very good impression of what the design would look like on the dress. So what I did, from my box of Tut, you may recall, I just found I had this transparent plastic box. So I cut off a piece, and then I roughly drew my design on that, and then I was able to put that there, and because it's transparent I get a really good idea of the scale and the shape and what it would look like on the dress, because it's very important that you design something which is actually going to A, suit the dress, but B, is going to be the right size on the dress. If it's too small, you're wasting your time because you won't see it. If it's too big, like the bow that was there before, it's going to overwhelm. So I've just moved the camera again so that you can see the absolute detail of what I'm doing. Now this is the piece of transparent plastic which I cut out, as you can see here. But then what I did, as I started transferring the crystals onto this piece of plastic, I noticed that the lines I'd drawn had started to smudge, and you might be able to see. So what I then did was draw on a piece of paper the design that I wanted. I also marked all of the centimetre markings so that I would get a sense of scale, so that I would make sure that my design was genuinely symmetrical. Now, if I can just slot that back, you can see all of my lines line up with the pencil markings underneath, and I've just got two more little crystals to put on here. These are the crystals I bought. I'll show you this bag because it's the biggest and easiest to see. These are just hot fix crystals. You can get them anywhere on the internet. If you buy them in big bags like this, it's much cheaper than buying sort of one or two. And basically they've got a bit of dried glue on the back, and if you heat it up with an iron, that melts and it sticks it to the dress or whatever it is you're covering. So, and when you get down to these really teeny tiny ones like this, they're really fiddly diddly to try and handle, but I'll see if I can show you how to do that. I need to sit down and get really close to this because it's really difficult. So most people, your hands are not moist exactly, but they will have some moisture on them. So I have found the easiest way to handle the really tiny ones is simply to use the moisture that's on my hand like this, just to pick them up and then to just drop them. And luckily, like this one, they land face up. They don't always, more often than not they land face down. But then you just have to keep persevering with it to try. If you just keep picking it up and dropping it. The thing you have to be really careful for here is that you don't knock the whole thing and then the whole design goes skew-whiff, because they're literally just placed on the plastic. So I'm not moving them with my finger because, as I say, your finger is always slightly moist when you're one of those lucky people with very dry hands, and consequently if you move it with your finger, it will either get stuck to your finger or you'll accidentally, because your fingers are bigger than a pencil point, you'll knock some of the other ones out of the way. So I'm just using a pencil point just to move it where I want it. I'm going to go for another one. This is my last one. That one's landed upside down, so I'm going to just pick it up again, drop it again, away from the actual design. Again, you have to be quite patient with this, don't do it in a rush. There we are, it's landed the right way up. So I can just push it with the pencil, which won't stick to it. Trying not to ping it or any of the others. Now, these are all of my crystals in what I think want to be the right shape for my design. So I need to just check the lines. So if I look along this line to make sure they're all pretty much where I want them to be. Nobody is ever going to look this closely at your crystals again, but just from a sense of personal satisfaction, it's nice to know that you've got them in the right place. And also sometimes one or two of them do just kind of sneak into places you don't want to go. Now I think that's pretty much where I want everything to be. So I'm going to just show you on the dress what this looks like. I'm going to pick it up really carefully, and I'm going to hope that nothing moves and I don't trip up or drop it or jog it or anything, so otherwise I'll have to start again, and then it's like a game of Jenga starting. Right, so I've moved the camera angle so that you can see really closely what I'm doing, and I'm going to really carefully pick this up, not trip over the camera, and place it here. And that, I think, is where I want it to go. So that I think that will look really pretty on that dress. And what you have to do is, if you've got any vertical lines on the dress, you must make sure you line them up with your design. I've got one here, so I need to make sure when I put this on the design that that lines up with this central line going down here. So I'm going to put that back very, very carefully onto my flat surface. Ah! Okay, so one of them, and that's how easy it is to do it, one of them has moved. So the next great question is, how am I going to transfer this onto that while keeping everything in exactly the right place? And I've restored order, so I don't really want to move that again. So I've developed a new technique. I haven't tried this before, so I'm going to just see if it works. I'm going to use sellotape. That was a bit stupid because I could have knocked everything, but I think everything has stayed in place. I'll have another check in a moment. That's how easy it is, so really you shouldn't have that anywhere near with what you're doing. So I'm going to stick this onto my jeans. This time I won't knock it. And I'm going to slightly, I don't know if you can see here, just overlap it. The idea is, I don't want that bit of fluff that's on there, you can see. The idea is to create just a little sheet of sticky. Let's just take that off. And that is probably big enough. Now, the reason I've stuck it on my jeans is because I want it to be sticky, but I don't want it to be so sticky that when I iron on the back, that the stickiness of the tape pulls, so that when I take it off, so that it pulls them off again when I've just stuck them on with glue. So I'm just going to check these, and then I'm going to show you how I'm carefully going to put the sellotape on. Right, I've realigned everything here again. Here's my bit of sticky, which is not quite as sticky because I've stuck it on my jeans. And now I'm just going to literally place this on here. I'm just touching some of these little ones to make sure I pick them all up because they are tiny. So they're not as deep as, for example, this big one in the middle. So when I press down, it may not go down deep enough to pick them up. So I'm just literally making sure I've picked each one up with my finger. Now, can you see? That one is slightly out of line, so I'm just going to literally move that under the sellotape. Now, have I got them all? Moment of truth. Well, so far so good. Goodness gracious. Can you see? Actually got them all. Look at that. Fantastic. Pat on the back. There we are. So that's what it looks like from the front. Now I'm going to stick it down on the dress. Now we've got, just before I do that, we've got these rather little funny old lines here, which is where I took the stitches out. So I'm going to try and cover those up as much as possible. See, that's it. Just stop fiddling around with it. I think that will do. Now, having got everything in the right position, miraculously, I'm going to take this to the ironing board. I've got a book inside at the moment. I'll take that out. It's actually a magazine. I'm going to turn the dress inside out. I'm going to iron from there. I think I might just put a thin cloth over so that I don't singe the inside. Don't you wander off, you little one. And then I'll come back and show you how it's got on, but there we are, I've managed to transfer it. Amazing, I've surprised myself. Hello, I'm back. Well, it wasn't quite the unqualified success I had hoped for, because although the sellotape held the crystals nicely in place, to begin, I should have practiced, which I didn't. I just went straight for the dress, which was a bit stupid of me because I've never done it before. But when I ironed, first of all, my iron obviously wasn't hot enough. So I was finding that as I went to try and too eagerly peel the sellotape off, it was taking the crystals with it. So then I thought, okay, I'm going to turn my iron up really hot, which I did. I didn't singe the dress, thank goodness, because I did still keep the piece of fabric between the iron and the dress. But I obviously had the iron too hot, or I had it on for too long, because what happened was it melted all the glue on the back of the crystals, which was a plus, but it also melted the sellotape. So when I took it off, I ended up with this sort of ghastly piece of singed, melted sellotape stuck to the front as well, so I had to quickly peel that off, which then meant it took off some of the crystals with it. So I had some crystals attached and some little glue spots where the crystals had been. It was all a bit of a drama of, oh my goodness, what have I done? And I'm thinking, instead of enhancing my friend's dress, I've completely ruined it. But necessity is the mother of invention, and I was able to get some more crystals. And I just used this little glue stick, which is a water-based glue, just literally to position them on the front individually, just the few that were missing, and then turn it over and use the hot iron again to melt the glue and to get them to stick properly. And I'm pleased to be able to tell you, ta-da, that here we have. I think it looks really pretty, actually. I hope you can see it clearly, with these lovely crystals, which I hope are firmly affixed, but I now know how to fix them back if any of them do come adrift. And I'm actually toying with the idea of possibly putting another one here and another one here, but I think I might show it to my friend and see what she thinks of just the one. If she's happy with that, I'll leave it. There's my phone ringing. And if not, I'll put another two here if she wants more bling. Anyway, so that's that. So here we are, snatching victory from the jaws of defeat. Thank goodness. That could have been the end of a very good friendship. Anyway, so let's see what she thinks later on. I'm going to get her to come in here, try them on without looking at them first, and so we'll get her honest reaction, hopefully, and see what she thinks, and hopefully she'll be enchanted with the results. Hello, we're just waiting for my friend to turn up to try these dresses on, and while I was waiting, I'm not a very patient person. I started to get a bit fidgety, and I thought, actually, if she opts to have a bit more bling, why don't I have them ready and prepared so that I can stick them on her, and I'm still using my sellotape method, stick them on her, and then she can get a really good idea of what one will look like and what three will look like. And so I've prepared, two more here. That's the back, and that's the front. I haven't made them quite as complicated as the one in the middle, which actually doesn't matter because they're still symmetrical. I haven't put in the teeny tiny little crystals, which was so difficult to iron on because the iron couldn't really reach down to them because of the profile of the big crystals holding the fabric proud of the ironing board. Anyway, so I'll have these to show her so that I can put them like this, and then she'll have a really good idea of what three will look like. If I know her, I will put, if I was a betting person, which I'm not, I would put money on she will go for the three. But let's wait and see what her reaction is to the two dresses, and see what her choice is about whether she wants one or three. This is my friend Kathy, and this is the dress with the frills in place so that she can't see what it's going to look like after I've done the changes. So, ta-da!
Oh my god! good.
Come forward a bit so the camera can see
This
you.
is beautiful. Oh,
So we've got like a
God.
little slash here, so with a little bit of brown skin showing through, because you do have fabulous tan, which also carries on the V at the front, the same
Fabulous.
sort of shape.
I love, it just feels more sophisticated. It felt
Yeah.
a bit twee before.
It was a bit sort of
yeah.
frumpy, wasn't it?
And
Frumpy
you know
dumpy, whereas this is quite sleek and I think
Very
architectural.
simple. Yeah.
And
Yeah.
also from the back it adds a bit of interest as well. So even if people can't see the front, they can still see this little slash here.
That's fabulous.
So
How
successful
did you do that?
change.
Did you just slice? Did you take fabric out, or did you?
No, well,
Did you cut
this was
it?
caught. It was caught into the seam here,
Right.
so I just undid the entire seam, took the frill out, but didn't sew the seam up completely.
Okay.
Just took it to here, so it has the same angle of the V.
That's absolutely gorgeous. Be loving my hair up actually. That's
You could put
what
your hair up with it as well.
Yeah, if it ever stays up, that's even trouble. It just doesn't stay up. And love it. I
Love it?
absolutely adore it.
Time for
Thank
dress
you.
number 2?
Dress number 2. Oh my
Okay.
God, I hate that bow. I could put it in my hair, I suppose.
This is Kathy in the other dress.
Yes. Wait.
Rearrange you a little bit. And this is as it was beforehand with the bow, which as you've just said, you hate.
Hate it.
So let's get rid of that bow.
Ta-da.
See what I've been doing
Ta-da.
underneath. Ta-da!
Oh, I love it. Oh, that's amazing. Did you put this satin here? Was it here before?
It was there before, but because the bow was there, you probably didn't notice it as much.
I didn't notice it.
So we've got this lovely little bit of diamante here,
This is
and
gorgeous. Oh, my bra
you
shame.
just need a different bra.
Yeah, that's fine.
So, and the other thing I was thinking was,
Jack.
if you like, we can put.
I don't know. Does
One
it need
there.
it? I think.
And
What do
we can
you
put
think, Mrs. Lola? What do you think?
one there.
I don't mind either way.
Initially, I was thinking that you would actually choose the 3, but when I
No.
look at the,
I look less is more.
yeah, when I look at it like that, because it's stretched. Once you've got it on,
Yeah,
it stretches out the satin.
Don't need.
I don't think you do need it.
No,
Actually.
I think it's a statement. And if I have a really nice piece of blingy jewellery, love it.
Hello. Well, that is why I don't gamble. Because I certainly would have lost that bet. I really thought to begin with that she would take the 3 little bits of diamante, but actually once I saw the dress on her, I could see that with the satin, once it stretched across her body, it picked up more of the sheen that you get when the light hits it, so it was quite blingy just by itself, and the extra single diamante cluster in the middle was sufficient sparkle for the entire dress. So 2 very successful alterations, but the big question remains, what did I do with the spare bits of diamante? Well, here's one, and I'll show you what I've done with the other one. I actually thought I would stick it on the back pockets of my jeans. I've done one, and I was a bit perplexed that I hadn't managed to master how to put the diamante on properly on the dress, so I was determined to have another go at it, and I think I've worked out what I did wrong. I think one of the reasons it went wrong last time is because I didn't have a hot enough iron. The second thing was I was using a metallic board, so that on an ordinary ironing board, if you have a metallic cover, it reflects the heat back up to the clothes. So of course, as I was ironing from the top, it was reflecting up from the bottom, and it was just too hot on the sellotape. So I'm going to actually show you now. I know it's ridiculous to watch me ironing something, but I'm going to show you how I'm going to do this one, just to prove to myself and hopefully to you how easy it is. So this is the one I've already positioned, so I'm going to make sure I position this one in exactly the same sort of place. I've just lined the camera up so you're close, so you can get a bird's eye view of what I'm doing. And here, the things I'm lining up the diamante with are, one, this point here I'm lining up with the vertical line, and then I'm imagining a line continuing from these 2 to make sure they're at the same height. Having done that, I'm going to press this down to make sure it stays in position. And then you'll see I've abandoned the metallic ironing board cover, and I've got 2 pieces of cork here so I can do it on the table. I'm going to turn this inside out, and I want to try to just have access to the back of that pocket without moving the pocket too much. I want to try and keep that static so I reduce the risk of the little bits of diamante moving. Now, here is my very hot iron, and I'm going to just hold it there. If it was a delicate fabric, I would put a piece of cloth between the fabric and the garment and the iron, but this is jeans, so it shouldn't really be. Now, the one that's going to get the most heat is the one in the middle, because it's the tallest one if you can look at it sideways. Can you see there? That's the central one. Now that actually helps me quite a lot, because then I can just position the iron here to heat up the glue on the back of the other crystals. Again, not moving it, just holding it there and here. This might not make for the most engrossing video to watch. I just want to make sure you know how to do it, because it's easy to get right, but also easy to get wrong, as I've demonstrated. So I need to just try and wiggle my way around here. This is much easier to do, of course, if you have the pocket taken off. I'm going to do it this way. I'm actually lifting up the back of the iron, so I'm only putting pressure on the front. As I was going to say, if you take the pocket off, you can actually lay it flat. You don't have to negotiate all of this extra fabric around here. So we shall see in a moment. Bling isn't usually my sort of thing, actually, but I just thought I didn't want to let these go to waste. And while they were sitting on my table, they kept getting stuck to each other and to all sorts of other things. They were becoming a bit of a nuisance. So I had to stick them onto something, and then my jeans seemed the most obvious thing. Right, here we go. So the sellotape has not melted, first thing to note, so that's good. Now, I understand you are supposed, in fact, to let them cool down. Now, that's been a few minutes, but I've chopped out that bit of film because it's a bit boring, just literally like watching paint dry, like watching glue cool down. So I'm just going to pick up the sellotape here, just slowly peel it back. Now when you peel it back, if you peel it at 90 degrees, you're putting the maximum pulling force on the diamante, so they are more likely to come off. If you don't want them to come off, the best way to do it is to peel it back like this, so that you're all as flat as you can be to the fabric, and that reduces the amount of pulling force on the diamante. And let's see how we're going. Oh, it's looking good, looking good, looking, oh. Let's not try and be overconfident, just in case it all goes pear-shaped at the end. Look, look, look. Ta-da! Oh, that's lovely. I'm really pleased with that. There we are. We have two matching ones. So that's still quite warm. So if any of them was slightly out of position, I could probably just sort of gently ease them while the glue is still warm. But actually, I'm really pleased with how they've both turned out. When you come to wash them, turn the jeans inside out, because if these scrape against anything else in the wash or against the edge of your washing machine, they're more likely to get knocked off. One little tip: if you find that you have any sticky surplus left on the diamante crystals from the sellotape, the thing to do is just get a little cotton bud, dip it in nail varnish remover, and just very carefully go over it, and that will remove any of the surplus sticky that's left over. So there we have it. We have two, I think, extremely successful alterations to dresses, such that they were left in the cupboard to rot but will now be regularly worn. And we also have a bonus on your bottom.